What's going on YouTube? Earth Power here with CVH,
How's it going, everybody?
and welcome to the second half of the Season 2 bracket tournament, trying to find the best deck. Today we have for you the first deck in the second half of the bracket. I don't know what you actually call that. I guess it would be the second half. Mana Burn, Forcive, the mirror of the deck from last season that ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, it was our last inclusion in season 1, and then it just beat all of the decks that it was up against. Known as Fortress Burn in the IDC community, really showcases the power of Fortress Shell as a burn card. Last season it was running 3, this season it's running 4. The deck is still very in tune with its game plan of ramp and defense until you can get to Miraculous Plagues and Fortress Shells, which you then chain over and over again with cards like Soulswap, Belix, and Phal. If we had 4 Soulswaps, this deck would probably just be completely insane. And with more than 40 cards too, you'd be a little bit less scared of maybe a self-mill, but we are playing the 40 card finish format with Soulswap Limited. But yeah, this deck is nasty.
Yeah, this is one of those rare decks that sees a really heavy hit in from the ban list. You know, like CVH mentioned, the fact that we're playing 2 Soul Swap versus 4 basically makes this deck human, which is something that in the IDC meta, you know, this deck consistently was at the top tier of their list, one of their quote unquote S tier decks, and still is today. With 2 Soul Swap, this deck comes down to a realistic level where it's still a very good deck, but now, you know, we're handicapping it to that degree. I like that we played around with a lot of tech cards in this version, playing the one of Ice Vapor, the one of Corpse Charger versus the Morbid Medicine last season. 2 Lost Soul, which I think is the same from last season. We cut a pit.
Mhm.
This deck is notably more weak to rush to a degree. Um, with well, I mean,
I
maybe
might, I
not even
might
so
argue the
much.
opposite.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. So I was looking at the -1 pit, but then you know, we increased it now to 4 Yuliana, 4 Spiral Gate,
Yeah.
just to really give you the edge in that rush matchup. If you guys remember in season 1, Fire Nature Rush was the only deck to take a game off Mana Burn season. So moving some stuff around, going down to 2 Skysword was another notable change. But sticking to the core of what this deck was trying to do last season, just optimizing it.
Yeah, if you're playing this at home, play like 3 or 4 Sky Swords. We can't play 50 cards. We have to play 40. So the cuts had to come somewhere to play more narrow but very fun and cool cards like Ice Vapor, which we wanted to showcase in this tournament. Losing Miraculous Snare was a decision. A lot of people view that as like the anti-Gauntlet tech, but this time around we really wanted to play the 4 Yuliana, 4 Gates as the anti-rush tech, as you mentioned. Yuliana is just so powerful against every card that's not Ganta, and Spiral Gate answers Ganta and is also just awesome pretty much across the board and can even be used as a pseudo swap if you have a million mana to bounce your own Fortress Shells if you really, really need to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Let Yuliana carry the weight of whatever else you're dealing with when it comes to Russian tempo. Spiral Gate is your answer to Ganto, which is this deck's it's the card that this deck is weakest to most. And I know what you're saying. Fortress Shell is 5,000 power. It can attack over Ganto. Yeah, that's a million turns later.
Yeah.
So, you know, let Spiral Gate carry the weight there. Don't mana that just out of the blue, I guess, for trying to
Please don't
edge a
mana
pun in
Spiral
there
Gate
somehow.
against Rush. Oh, that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
awful.
don't do
Yeah.
that. But you're welcome. But yeah, with that in mind, if you know your matchups, if you know you're up against Saganta, hold the Spiral Gates, stick to Juliana, let them carry the weight until you can get to those later turns, and let Plague do the heavy lifting from there.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I mean, if you're a fan of Duel Masters, the competitive scene, and you've seen it evolve over the last few years, you've probably seen a lot of this deck. If you've watched our last season's tournament, you've seen a lot of this deck. But here it is, back to try to defend the title. And what is it up
Absolutely.
against first, Carl?
Up against dragons, perhaps one of the worst ranked decks, but you'll see that profile here in the next couple days. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, guys. Let us know what you think of this deck below. We're really stoked on it, really high on it. I think this list is much more optimized from season 1, and I'm excited to see how it does. So hopefully, guys, we'll see you next time. Peach.
Each.